Now I'd like to introduce a session from our elite underwriter, Verizon. Speaking today is Danny Johnson, Director of Product Marketing for Network Services at Verizon Enterprise Solutions. He has responsibility to maintain and grow Verizon's $5 billion revenue base within the Intelligent Network Services portfolio across enterprise and government. This includes program and campaign creation and design, internal-external portfolio messaging, Verizon brand awareness in the marketplace, and thought leadership pieces. Today, Danny will be talking about the importance of collaboration in today's changing government workforce and the evolution in communication within our first responder community, as well as the future of collaboration with the citizens they serve. Please join me in welcoming Danny Johnson.
All right. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody. I was just getting mic'd up a little bit there. All right. Everybody feeling good today? Yeah? Weather's good. It's been somewhat pleasant here in D.C. You know, if you're energized, and I hear some yeses, I guess there are a couple ways to look at that. One is the sessions up to this point have been so inspirational that it's just kind of kept you going. Or it's Thursday. I saw the agenda today, and there's kind of a reception afterwards called Tech and Tequila. That was kind of an interesting notion there. You know, it might be worth even just visiting just to kind of witness the experience. Or perhaps it's Thursday and you're towards the end of the week, and if you're from parts not from around here, you're about to leave and be back with your family or wherever you're from. Now, as mentioned, my name is Danny Johnson. I'm the global director for Verizon Enterprise Solutions product marketing organization. I deal specifically with our strategic network portfolio. Very honored to be with you here today, the second annual festival week. And I gather that the sessions up to this point have been compelling, thought-provoking, even practical. And so even as we continue our conversations today with one of the themes I saw on the agenda as well, management and the new agenda. Now, I think we can all agree that the digital age has ushered in this massive paradigm shift with respect to how we manage our operations, how we make decisions. And at the end of the day, whether we're functioning within our professional domains or delivering citizen services, or perhaps even consuming citizen services, the human experience still matters. And really what's compelling to me is the intersection of that human experience with advancements in technology. Now, with all that said, there's a connectedness that takes place. And that connectedness really fosters community. It does a number of other things as well. It inspires human courage and heroics. It influences mindsets and cultures, both professionally and in our daily lives. I'm going to speak to you today about how technology and innovation play a part in creating that connected ecosystem. A singularity derived from the fusion of technology and our human experiences. Now, to do that, I'd just like to take you on a little bit of a journey with me. Now, you see this first slide up here. My life is somewhat boring. I think many of yours are much more exciting than mine. But I think we do share some things in common. We get up. I woke up early this morning, saw my kids to bed last night. They were still asleep when I left, right? I do a number of other sundry things. I'll leave the details of those out. I don't think you want to leave this session with any images or other things that really provide no meaning for your daily life. However, one thing I do is I have my morning cup of coffee, like many of you perhaps do as well. And yes, it looks this lovely every morning, every day. No, not really. So, you know, I get infused with kind of that extra jump I need, and quite often I'm leaving my house on a conference call. I'm taking that call from my car, hands-free of course, and I'm doing one of my favorite activities in the entire world, and that is making my way through the Metro Washington, D.C. traffic. I love it. It's great. It really infuses me with just a load of happiness especially when I arrive at work and I need to interact with my colleagues and partners. So as I arrive in my office, what am I doing? I'm taking that call. I'm seamlessly transitioning it to my laptop in my workplace. Sometimes that's even now video enabled, okay? And as I'm working throughout my day, I'm collaborating, okay? I work, as you know, in a very large company. And one of the things I need to do is I need to work with key stakeholders, partners, team members. We do have a mission in place. I have results that I have to deliver for the business, and I have to rely on a number of different stakeholders, a number of different operational organizations, a number of other different business units in order to drive the results that I'm responsible for. Much like any other large federal agency, take Department of DHS, Homeland Security. Right? In fact, I think Verizon may have close to as many sub-companies and operational divisions as DHS as well. Right? It becomes pretty complex to navigate. So the innovations in technology help me do my job because now I can seamlessly interconnect. And it's not just about the fact that I can connect. It's the fact that I am connected. All right? The reason why I use this word connected is really because it implies something much more substantive. There's an immersive experience that takes place. I'm not just connected to things, I'm connected to an interaction. And that interaction really then fosters a result. And that result is what I'm responsible in terms of managing the business. Now, the tools I'm using are part of an agile infrastructure. That infrastructure involves a number of different components, right? And it's all underpinned by the fact that it must be secure. So I not only have network tools, I not only have collaboration tools, video tools, and other tools, I can now leverage those in a seamless collaborative environment. I can enact those tools when I need them, where I need them, and how often I need them. A very much utility-based environment. Now, let's just consider then, I'm going to pivot to the experience of a first responder. The first responder, he or she, they do the same thing as me, all of us. They get up in the morning. They may have their morning coffee. They do all their other sundry things that they need to do to get ready. However, instead of a conference call, they may get a call that has more dire implications. All right. There is a crisis. Some crisis, a citizen crisis. Maybe an attack on a subway. Perhaps flooding, as we've seen many of that. By the way, our prayers continue to be with those even today that are making their way out of the recent hurricanes and the other one coming right up the Caribbean. Maybe there's a call for, God forbid, something even as drastic as some kind of terrorist-based activity. Now, what's needed is, in these situations, a series of collaboration from a number of different organizations, local, state, federal first responders. And it doesn't even just stop there. NGOs, nonprofits, resources from critical infrastructure organizations, they need to be able to rally and galvanize very quickly around a common data set to make informed decisions quickly when they need them in order to respond appropriately to these types of incidents. Now, there are a number of tools available today, a lot of advancements in innovation that are available today at their disposal. Think about drones, robots, connected things, you name it. Could be an appliance even, all right? Mobile devices, smart devices, all can now be connected seamlessly in a collaborative function, in a collaborative way, providing data insights centrally so that disparate organizations can now make common decisions based on common data sets to affect a result. Now, does that sound too good to be true? Well, it really is upon us. And in fact, Verizon conducted a series of exercises earlier this year in Perry, Georgia. We actually did leverage a lot of these platforms in a secure fashion, interconnecting all of these capabilities to make common decisions to address a number of different scenarios. Let's take a look.
We designed OCR 2017 to allow us to emulate a mega disaster. In a 3-hour period, we'll be exercising response to a tornado, to a chemical plant that has collapsed and exploded, to a subway that's been attacked by terrorists, our recreation of the flooding of the lower Ninth Ward. And that's lastly followed by an attack on a convoy of vehicles.
Today is all about bringing lots of smaller organizations, clustering them in an environment, giving them a common problem and saying scale and solve that issue, but they need something to attach them together. That's what Verizon brings. We can connect all of these things.
We actually have a lot of moving pieces and parts. Aircraft that are flying all throughout doing various missions, robotic systems that are going where the space confinements don't permit people to get into, a variety of surveillance and visualization technologies around management of drones.
High-speed networks make everything possible.
These robots are now enabled with high-definition cameras, with artificial intelligence, and this is giving us a great way to actually take that risk away from your first responders.
When you come to a day like this and you see everything live and you see the effect that it can have on people's lives and safety and security, you take away a different emotional connection to what technology can do for you.
The best part of this entire exercise is getting federal, state, local first responders together, allowing them to understand what we can do before the real problems start is critical.
Now, pretty cool, huh? And as I kind of look at my own daily life, as I'm working for Verizon, there's one thing that does resonate. You heard one of them here from Martin Burville. There becomes this emotional connection that involves a certain aspect of technology. Again, I go back to that connectedness aspect. However, as I'm engaging in my daily operations at work, being able to seamlessly take a video call from my mobile phone, to transition that to my laptop or desktop environment seamlessly, does two things. One is it does improve employee morale. It enables me to do my job, right, better, more effectively. And it does improve productivity. Those are critical aspects in order to really drive results and get my job done. Now, let me take you back about 16 years, right, in the aftermath of 9/11. Having all of these assets available, on demand, in a seamless way, securely connected, was somewhat of a dream. Our first responders could only really dream to have these capabilities available at the time. Let me take you back then 12 years ago in the aftermath of Katrina. Still yet, even then, many of these capabilities were somewhat out of grasp. Now we look today and we see a number of different other natural disasters taking place. They continue to reveal the need, of the criticality of being able to have secure platforms that are interconnected. And this is where Verizon comes into play. For Harvey and Irma, Verizon pre-staged network and resource assets. And after the storms had passed, we deployed those assets into all the localities. Within 24 hours, we had restored power to 90% of our cell sites. We did that through remote generators, mobile generators on trailers. Within 7 days, we had 100% of those cell towers active. In addition, we deployed mobile command centers. And through those mobile command centers, we were able to provide communications for those that are in the areas. We were able to provide data access for those that were in the areas, as well as charging stations. Additionally, we waived voice and data charges for those that were impacted by the storms. The Verizon Foundation donated $10 million towards hurricane relief efforts. In addition, we were part of the hand-in-hand telethon, where we also contributed an additional $2.5 million. We actually supplied roughly 2,000 resources, right, to help in those efforts, to really field calls, where as a community, and I say community very broadly, and this is pretty phenomenal, right? All of us were able to raise roughly $44 million in relief efforts. That's a pretty phenomenal feat. Now, where do we go from here? Right? What's next? So in every disaster or common need, we see citizens helping citizens. We see the fellowship and the brotherhood of the human spirit. These shared experiences pull communities together. And these communities enable healing and support for those impacted by any disaster. So as we move forward 5, 10, even 15 years from now, we're going to look back on these experiences of the past, and what will they do? They'll continue to inspire us to run to a crisis, not away from it. Additionally, we'll be able to look on the technology advancements and build upon where they've taken us, where we are today, and where they're going to carry us in the future. We're going to be enabled to do more, to see more, communicate better, respond quicker. We're going to be able to see the elevation of courageous heroics of the human spirit to make a difference in every aspect of life. Connectedness, enabled by the singularity of technology, driven by human inspiration, will enable real-time information sharing, getting the right data to the right people at the right time, so decisions and interactions are on demand. Because when we are connected, we've proven that we can work together. And when we work together, there is no limit to what we can achieve. Thank you very much. I think we have roughly 2 minutes if we want to perhaps open things up for questions. Happy to field those. And if not, that's okay as well. I think there's a couple up here.
How you doing, sir? I just would like to know more of your background. I didn't get a chance to Google you enough, but it seems obviously you're mid-career professional and from Verizon. Wanted to know any government background or just private sector overall, if you don't mind speaking more on your professional.
Yeah, sure. I guess how far can we go? I have experiences in a number of different areas. I started out my career actually in government consulting, where I actually worked on the E2C Hawkeye platform. So back in the day, then that platform, in the plane, that whole computer system needed to be upgraded. And I'm dating myself, but I was involved in making some recommendations as to what kind of technology to even use there. Back then, Ethernet was very, very new. So some of the decisions were between FDDI and Ethernet. So that's where I started my career. I kind of pivoted from government consulting into enterprise operations. So I went and worked for network operations within a large firm at the time, and then also from there stayed in telecom. And now I've been at Verizon for roughly 17, 18 years. And in this capacity, in this company, I've really had the opportunity to do a number of jobs in a number of capacities. I've been an engineer, I've been an architect, I designed networks, I worked in labs, I've been in sales, I've been in marketing, I supported public sector marketing for several years before coming to this role to really support our next generation network services globally. Loved all of the experiences as well. I think there was another question up front as well.
Yeah, I just was wondering how you have found personally the navigation between what you do in Verizon in your private sector role and your experience working with people who are in public service.
So it's pretty seamless, right? I think there's a common thread, and that is we're very used to in our daily lives. We're very used to kind of the consumer consumption, of technology resources, and so here's where some of this paradigm shift is taking place, and we expect that same experience wherever we go, and especially. Now when you see the whole millennial generation coming up, this is all they really know. And so that presents some interesting considerations, right? It presents some interesting considerations around recruitment, around the technologies that we want to use to recruit, these resources. Am I still okay on time? Yeah? And so, that is, to your point, I think it's very seamless. Because at the end of the day, I still have to interact with people. That just never changes. I may have to interact differently, depending on how I can enable those interactions. But those still provide the substance of the relationships I build. Whenever I still need to get things done, I'll give you an example. Email. I believe email is not a good way to communicate. It's a good way to pass information. So you'd be amazed at some of the good old proven ways to be able to communicate effectively is just go speak to somebody in person, whether that's through a video conference. This is where technology actually can be a facilitator, video conference, or through a phone call, or you just walk down 10 yards into someone's office. You'd be amazed, and I think this may happen with you, and perhaps there are some comedies that have been developed as a result, where you have two people that sit 5 feet away from each other, and they're on a video conference or an audio conference in their offices. Well, that is an interesting paradigm to consider as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But a lot of different things to consider from a technology perspective. We're used to the consumerization of IT, but there are also some tried and true ways in order to have very enriched interactions in order to get work done and establish relationships today. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your week.